Hello, and welcome to the Tuning In podcast. I'm Dana Evans, your inner voice and emotional support coach. In this podcast, we explore the deep wisdom that lives in our bodies, emotions, and inner voice. Together, we'll shed the layers that no longer serve us, creating space to tap into the flow of life and experience true ease. So, are you ready to join me? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. So, I gotta tell you, I have been, obviously, if you've been listening to the episodes, it's like Hermit January, okay? I'm like, I don't even know, but it feels so good, and it feels so right, and I'm just deep in this slowness. And these days, I really, really relish it because over the years, I have come to find that just like the energy always comes back when you're in a low, the busyness, the fullness of life in that way always returns when you're in a slow. And I am in a slow and I just am relishing it. I'm enjoying it. I'm allowing it. I'm not fighting it. And I'm giving in fully to it. So I haven't even had a ton to say. I had a flurry of podcast episodes, and then this past week I was like, ooh, I need to do an episode. Ooh, what do I want to talk about? And nothing was pinging. And so I didn't record, but then something pinged. So today I'm going to talk about the Dana diet and what that means, how you can create your own for yourself. And it definitely plays into this hermiting type of energy, this hermiting mode. But before we do that, I'm going to give you a little random update. I just tidied my office. You know, every house always has some area that becomes a dumping ground, at least in my experience. Even as someone who likes cleanliness and tidiness, I always have somewhere. Honestly, it feels like a lot of times it's whack-a-mole. Like this area stays clean for a while and then we start leaving things here, and then that area stays clear and then we start leaving things here. And I think part of it's because even though we're definitely settled in our house, all of our main rooms are set up, there's still a lot that hasn't fully been sorted. So there's a couple closets that have boxes of things in them. And in my office, I have a little armoire that is just kind of stuffed with stuff. And part of that's because, one, probably these are things that I don't really need. I have boxes of office stuff that is amazing, even fit in my cloffice in my old house. But I'm looking at that thinking, do these fit with my new space, right? So that's a big part of it. So we have some boxes of things that there's a question mark of, are we going to keep them? And if we have to go through them, it's like there's sentimental value. There's a lot of, I have little things, which drives John nuts, but like I like little things. So it's like, it feels like there's a lot of things because they're small. So they're not taking up a ton of space, but they're just there. So at some point I will have the energy to bit by bit go through those. And they're just annoying because it feels like it's a box of things, but you have to like take everything out and it feels like so much and they're not exactly in a category. Oh, I'm just not there in terms of cleaning that. And then the other thing is we're still needing some furniture and specifically like storage/display furniture. So we don't have any bookshelves. John and I have so many books. We love books, okay? I mean, he has like a textbook science library that he still references. And then I have, oh my gosh, I have like a personal development self-help library. If you want to check out a self-help book, I got you figured out. And just so many novels as well. So I have this vision, I think I've shared this before, but for my office, I really do have a vision of having just a wall of bookshelves and then putting them by category and author. Oh my gosh, like total Virgo, hyper organized library vibe books. Oh my gosh. we're not there yet. I'm not in the place to do that. I'm not ready for that. I have like a lot of vision. And so I'm not going to do it haphazardly. So we have no bookshelves. And we're also missing just some like general console tables or armoire, or whatever, storage type things, set of drawers. So that's a big reason a lot of things aren't unpacked. Anyway, that is a long way to tell you that my office had become a dumping ground. And so today I was having a pretty good day. I slept well last night. I had some decent energy today. And I was like, I have not been going in my office at all because I don't like it. It's kind of messy. And I wanted to record my podcast. But in order to record my podcast, I had to sit at my desk. So I went to sit at my desk to record the podcast. And I thought, there is no way the energy of my podcast is going to be any good if I am surrounded by this mess. Like I was nestling my computer in like a pile. So I put on a podcast and just started doing a little tidying. And now we're in good shape. I cleaned the surfaces. I spritzed some spritz. It feels much better. Is it my dream office? Not yet, but it is at least clean and tidy and a very, very functional space for me to work and record in. Hey, so here we are. I've recorded my podcast and I want to talk about the Dana diet. So this concept came up a few months ago when I was launching the emotional edit. And I think I was getting in my head a little bit, or a lot of a bit, and talking to my coach at the time, Lauren Armstrong. And what was happening was I was trying to launch and talk about my own stuff, but then I was consuming a lot of other people's information, whether it be somatic body work or other people launching their programs or other courses. So I was consuming all of this stuff, like literally hyper consuming. I don't know what freaking happened, but I definitely have extremes that I operate within. And so when I get in on a kick of learning, I kind of go all in and I can get really intense and take all the courses and all the things at once and like saturate. And then when I'm out, I'm like not doing anything. I'm not consuming any of it. And so I was on, and I was doing 2 different RRT programs at the same time. One was a 8-day immersion audio course. One was this like big long one that has so much content that you can kind of use a la carte, but I was like every day consuming. And then I was in these other online courses, and then I was reading all these emails, and then I was listening to everyone's Instagram and watching their stories and consuming their content. And then I was listening to all these podcasts, and I was just taking in. And what was happening was it was completely overwhelming me. I'm like, I need to do this. I should do this. What about this? Here's an idea. Maybe this. And it was so much input and so much inspiration. And then it also, of course, caused comparison and doubt. Like, oh, I don't know about that. I should be teaching that. And well, in order to teach that, I have to learn that. In order to learn that. And it was this whole thing that was really kind of debilitated me. I didn't even realize. And my coach had pointed it out. She said, you see all these things that you're experiencing, like brain fog? I was having all these weird symptoms. She said, I think this is almost like a protection mechanism that is being triggered because your system is it's kind of in like a bit of a fight or flight, and you're consuming all this information, which is making it worse. I was like, oh my God. So we did a whole clearing around that. And then she's like, I'm going to put you on a Dana diet, which basically meant stop consuming other people's stuff, specifically other people's stuff that's related to my industry and my work. And I don't follow a ton of people I follow like no one in the coaching industry, but I do follow a lot of people in like the somatic bodywork industry, and whatever. I can apply it however. And I can even apply like my favorite podcaster, Jess Lively. It's easy for me to go from inspiration to overwhelm to self-doubt and distress. That's just, there you go. Behind the scenes, the real. That happens to me. So I can consume something because I'm inspired and I'm learning and I'm excited, and then it can tip over. So what we realized was during the time specifically when I was releasing my own program that I was so excited about was I needed to kind of cut out and shield myself from everyone else's stuff. Not only for my own sanity, but here's the deal. For the integrity of my program, my messaging, my offer, my work that I do with people, I was getting so caught up in what everyone else was doing that I was feeling like it was starting to embed itself in me. I'm like, oh, well, I can mimic that person. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's pause, and I need to get back to me. Because at the time too, I was also feeling like, oh, I'm not really connecting to my inner voice. I'm feeling distracted. All of that was why we created the Dana diet. It was very simple. I love doing like a challenge. My mind loves having a time limit for trying things out. So she's like, for the next 2 weeks, let's just release all the consuming and release all the doing of other people's stuff. Ooh, and my mind was like, oh no, but we've got momentum and then we'll never complete it and then we'll never be good, right? Mind stories. But I got on board and it was such a relief. And since then, I have to be honest, I haven't totally geared back up. I did have a little spurt for a while, I think in October and early November, where I was super active. But since then, I've really scaled back. And the last 2 weeks of December into now, today's January 17th, have really been a time of very little external consumption. And here's what's been happening. So, I think people talk a lot about social media, and I definitely have in the past of needing to be off it or on it or detox or blah, blah, blah. For me, what the Dana diet actually is less about social media specifically and more about what am I consuming? What am I taking in? What am I allowing into my sphere, and what do I get sucked into? So I personally do get sucked into Instagram. And for a long time, I've talked about this a lot. My relationship with Instagram is kind of one of those extremes. I'm either on or I'm off. And when I'm on, I haven't yet found a balance that I like when I'm on Instagram of being on there to share versus consuming. And I don't follow many people, but that doesn't matter. I go to the explore page and then it's feeding me stuff, then I'm really not controlling what I'm taking in. And it's just until I can reset my brain around this, I'm just very conscious of, okay, if I'm on it, there's a good chance that I'm going to get sucked in more than I want. So in December, I deleted Instagram, which I do often. I'll delete it for the weekend. I'll delete it for a day. I'll delete it for a week. Like, I have no qualms about going on or off Instagram. Like, if I don't feel like being on it, I exit. So I deleted it at the time because I was like, it was the holidays, it was Christmas, and I didn't really feel like engaging. I didn't really feel like watching what other people were doing. I just kind of wanted to be. But since then, I think I maybe downloaded it again for like 4 days or something, maybe. And then I haven't had it since. I deleted it again. And it's been so lovely. And I realized the other day, I was like, oh, I'm on another Dana diet. It's like a cleanse of consumption, a consumption cleanse. So what's been happening is pretty much off Instagram, I do check in on the website like a couple times a week just to see if there's any DMs or anything I need to respond to. And then sometimes I'll check in on my friends, like just friends of what they're posting, not like accounts that I follow, but just my friend. But that's it. I'm not hanging out there. I have not been listening to podcasts. I know I opened this episode and said I was listening to a podcast, and I was. And it was the first podcast I have listened to besides Crime Junkie, which is kind of a true crime podcast. It's the only podcast I've been listening to. And not a ton. They just have one episode a week. So I did, for the first time, though, listen to a Just Lively episode. I haven't listened to her stuff for quite a while. And it was just like a Q&A. And I love Q&A episodes. So I was like, okay, I'll put that on while I'm cleaning my office. And that was actually kind of fun. But beyond that, no podcasts. I have pulled back on all educational content. Again, like, I'm not kidding. I could have a self-help library. I could have an online self-help library of all the freaking courses I have taken and certifications I have. It is insane. Like, I remember talking to a friend not too long ago, and I was like, I don't have hobbies. And sometimes I feel bad about not having hobbies. And I get in my head about it. But a lot of the fact that I don't have hobbies is I don't feel like I have a ton of excess energy. And if I do, I'm either going to use it to like organize my house, clean my house, cook, or like care for my body in some way, or read or watch a show. Those are my hobbies. But then it dawned on me, I do have a hobby. My hobby is taking courses and continued education. That is my hobby. Continued education is my hobby. And it does take up a lot of time. And so it's like also if I have downtime, if I'm in a cycle of learning, which again, I'm on or off with that. I'm not usually casually doing learning. I'm either in it or I'm not. If I'm in a cycle, again, if I have extra time or downtime, that's going to be used for the course that I'm in because, hey, I don't want to take a course just to have it. I want to learn from it and use it. So there's my hobby. But the past few weeks or month, really, I have not been consuming educational content, even books. I've just been reading novels and a lot of like easy books, like series that are just, it's almost like watching a TV show, but in a book form. Like they're very enjoyable for me. I can like read them quickly. I can read like multiple in a series. It's so great. And all of this has then, of course, given me more space to hang out. Right? I'm like, what have I been doing? Not that much. My time and energy instead has been focused on clients, hanging out in my house, quality time with John, and prepping for Inner Sanctum, which is coming up. I don't have a date yet, but that is a 30-day inner voice exploration. I think it'll be live, but like through like Telegram or WhatsApp where you just get like a daily voice memo from me that brings you back into your inner voice. I'm really excited about this one. So that's coming up. And then prepping for that, prepping the audio course, which I definitely stalled out on because my energy tanked. But that's it. I've been skiing. I'm getting quite good at skiing. That feels like a lot of work to me. I'm like, my sister-in-law called it a level 2 fun for me. I'm like, yes, it's level 2 fun. Like it's quite a bit of work, quite time consuming, and I'm getting better. And so it's becoming enjoyable. My social battery is like null. In fact, most of my to-do list, I'm not kidding, is like reply to this person, call this person back, respond to this text, voice memo this person, reply to that email. My social, just it's not there. I just don't have a lot of energy for meeting, chatting, talking, follow-up, responding. I'm like, I'm sorry. I will see you later. In fact, on Instagram, I put my bio updated. I wrote BRB hermiting until February. And like I said at the top of this episode, I haven't felt like I had a lot to say either. I actually did have an email for the vitamin D newsletter that I started writing yesterday that will go out this week. And then I had this little Dana diet. But all that is to say, this has all happened to me really naturally. Like this is what has happened. And then I reflect back. I'm like, oh, I'm on a consumption cleanse. I'm on a Dana diet. And what that allows, what it allows when I'm not intaking from others, when I'm not taking in a bunch of other people's energy, other people's ideas, other people's perspectives, other people's work, other people's content, other people's creations, other people's art, when I'm not taking that in, and instead I'm spending a lot of time in quiet, I'm spending time in nature, I'm spending time with myself, pretty small circle of influence, me and John, Mia, my parents. What that allows is for me to come back to my own voice, my inner voice, my take on things, my work, my unique way of working with people, of supporting people, and seeing what flows in the moment, seeing what flows, seeing what needs to come through me, what is channeled through me. What is my creative way of doing this work? Whether it's inner voice, emotional clearing, somatic, body energetic work. How am I doing it? And that's really been valuable for me. And then with the extra energy, I also have channeled it into a little bit more cooking. But like, don't get it twisted. I'm not running around having like these super productive days where I'm cooking these elaborate meals and cleaning the house and organizing and grocery shopping and doing intense body work so that I'm fit and healthy. Like, it's the bare minimum over here. In fact, okay, so last week, today's Wednesday, but like last week I got home from my parents' house. I spent a week with them, which was so restorative. I was completely off. I was like not even looking at email. It was like an offline, just fun week, pure play. I get home on Sunday, and on Monday I make this brothy bean soup. Oh my God, it's the best soup ever. It's so easy. Brothy beans. You soak your dried beans overnight. Dried beans, water, rosemary, oregano, onion, garlic, olive oil, salt, pepper. Boom. Toss it all in a giant pot and then simmer it. And it was so delicious. It was like such umami flavor. I made that on Monday, and I legit ate that Monday night, Tuesday lunch, Tuesday night, Wednesday lunch, Wednesday night, Thursday lunch. I think I finally cooked a meal on Friday night. I made a really delicious chicken called Marry Me Chicken. Okay. Then on Saturday, John and I skied all day and we went to get a burger afterward, and I just like inhaled the whole burger. And he's like, wow, you were hungry. I'm like, yeah, I think I am hungry because I just ate bean soup for a week. I was on like a cleanse. I didn't even mean to. But that was because I didn't have any excess energy to cook a meal. And so every day I was like, I mean, it made a lot of soup, obviously. I was like, John, you have to eat bean soup again. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. So he would like make up sausage from our local butcher, so he'd at least have some extra protein and like a slice of bread. But I was like pure bean soup, brothy beans and bread for a week. I wasn't even eating vegetables. So there's a whole range of output that I'm dealing with. That was like a really low output week. But point being, just because I'm not doing external stuff, it doesn't mean that I'm really productive internally. I think that often is what's communicated. I believe I've even communicated that, or that's been my experience in the past, where it's like, all right, well, I'm not on social media and I'm not doing social things. So instead, I'm channeling all of my productive energy inward toward my house, toward my body, toward my food, right? Toward cleaning. Yeah, that's not happening. This is the bare minimum lifestyle that I'm living over here, and I am here for it. I don't feel bad about it. This is a huge improvement from the past. And I also know that this is a time of restoration, reflection, regeneration. It's like the fermentation phase. Like things are kind of bubbling, but like we're not there yet, right? They're marinating, and I'm just kind of flowing with it. And I do know that's going to shift. And at some point I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I've got all these calls, all this stuff, all these things going on, and it won't feel as spacious. But right now I have space and I have time and I have low energy, and I'm just rolling with it. Now, that being said, this week kind of felt like maybe the first week where it's like I'm getting pricklings. I'm like, ooh, I got a little energy, got a couple hours in me. I had a client kickoff call, which was really fun. Also, if you're interested in one-to-one work, I am available now for new clients. So you can reach out to me at Dana_Evans on Instagram, or email me, dana@alignful.com. Information is on my website, but if you want to email me, I am available for one-to-one. But this week has felt like a little more energy is coming forward, which is exciting. My mind gets very excited when we have more energy. And it aligned with some other things. So I'm in a mastermind. I am in a mastermind that just started. It's the Spiritual Investor Mastermind with Elizabeth Ralph. I talked about that before. I'm in love. I'm so happy to be in that. And I am in one other program called Wealth Embodiment. And it's so aligned with the idea that I had for this year. The energy I have for this year is focus. And to me, focus is not like a mind thing, but it's like, where is my energy and attention going? What am I growing? Right? And that's kind of why I'm not wanting to be on Instagram right now. It's like, I don't want to grow my attention and my focus being pulled in all these ways on Instagram. Like, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel sustainable. But for this quarter, what feels like really delicious to focus on is wealth and the energy and money. And not from a scared way, but just like I just want to like really pour myself into that. So it worked out that I'm in this beautiful wealth embodiment experience with Victoria Washington. And it's like somatic work on steroids. Like, I totally found it randomly. Guys, it was an Instagram ad or an explore post. So it's good for something, right? I'm like, this is everything I've been looking for. So those are the only two things that I'm working on right now. And then with my physical body, I've just started doing one of my favorite online movement memberships, which I've told you all about. It's called Daily Ritual with Alicia Jane. I talked about her last week. And I'm just working on butt. This is like full disclosure. I'm just like talking to you guys, okay? But yeah, I'm just working on my butt. And then somatic, really floppy roll on the floor stretches. So nothing crazy, nothing intense, a little focused on the booty, and then on releasing just like old holding in the body. And those I'm doing in her membership. So those are the three things that as this week has started, I'm getting these pricklings. I'm like, oh, I can do a little of this. I can play with this. I can get into my body in this way. And it's gentle. And that's it. So all of that is to say that what would it look like for you to create your own Dana diet, your own consumption cleanse? Where do you feel your attention and intention and energy is going and growing? And is that where you want to go and what you want to grow, right? It's very simple. For me, I wasn't wanting to grow other people's ideas. I'm like, gosh, this is too much. Of course, there's a time and place for that. I love learning. I love watching other people. I love that. And there's a time and place to retract from that, retreat from that, and really to come back to yourself, your own voice, your own perspectives, your own ideas. So we can't always be consuming others' stuff, or it drowns us and we never get to put out our own, right? Whether it's our own thoughts, our own ideas, our own courses, our own programs, right? So what does that look like for you? And this, of course, could look like, I shared in the cleanse diaries, like your consumption cleanse could be like, I want to do a brothy bean soup week. I want to stop consuming like so many overwhelming foods that my palate is completely saturated all the time. Like maybe you want to do a week of eating khichdi. So that could absolutely be that. Or think of a consumption cleanse on substances like, oh, caffeine. How much caffeine? Is it feeling like too much caffeine? Is it feeling like too much alcohol? Is it feeling like too much, I don't know, chips, processed sugars? I'm just like thinking of random things. Whatever that is, or is it like I'm consuming too many freaking exercise videos and I'm overdoing it and it's not working for me? And my consumption cleanse is like, I'm going to do a week of no movement, right? Or a week where I only move when I'm moved to move. Or I just want to do gentle walks outside. Where is the mind in consumption mode and it feels like it has to keep taking these things in and doing them? Pumping, pumping, pumping. And what does that energy feel like in your body? For me, it was feeling a little unstable, a little frantic, like a little overwhelming. It was too much, especially this time of year. So what does that feel like for you, and where is that showing up in your life? It could be a social consumption cleanse. You might need a break from socialization and like, don't go to any events, stay home for a week. I don't know what that looks like for you. Only you know. And you can always check in with your inner voice and say like, inner voice, what would you like me to consume less of right now? Inner voice, what area of my life can I be more conscious in my consumption? Inner voice, if you were to design an energy diet for me, what would you include and what would you leave out? Those are really fun questions that you can use to guide your own little Dana diet. And consumption cleanse. So let me know if you choose to do any of that, and let me know how it feels. And remember, as always, everything is in ebb and flow. even if you're in Hawaii, like my friend Kimi is in Hawaii and it's always 80 degrees every day, that doesn't mean things aren't growing and dying, right? The plants are still growing and dying. There's still germination under the ground. It happens maybe at a quicker pace, but we as humans, just like nature, are cyclical. Right now, for most of us on this side of the world, our days are shorter. For people on the other side of the world, the days are longer, right? Like we are cyclical. We go through rhythms. And so remembering and reminding yourself of, I don't always have to be on. I don't always have to be going. I don't always have to be consuming. And just because I stop consuming, just because I slow down, just because I put a hold on things, doesn't mean I can't go back to it. Just because I scale back on caffeine doesn't mean I can't scale up again. Just because I stop taking a course doesn't mean I can't do another one later. Just because I need a break from socialization doesn't mean I'm antisocial. It just means you're following your rhythm. So lean into it, whatever phase you are in your own cycle right now. Lean in, especially if you're in a winter. That is the hardest one for people to lean into because it's the most at contrast to the external world. But giving yourself a chance to retreat, to retract, to review, reflect, replenish, restore, that's what leads you to renew, to regenerate, rebirth, recycling, right? It's like we're taking the old, we're letting it go, we're taking in the new, we're letting it grow. It is essential for you to cycle. And a little consumption cleanse can be exactly what you need to facilitate or kick off this next phase. So with that, thank you as always for listening. This one got longer than I expected. Who knew I had so much to say about this? But I appreciate your listening and sharing if this would resonate with anyone you know. And of course, I would love to hear what your consumption cleanse is or what your Dana diet is. Name it after your name. And see how you feel. Give yourself a week to start. Let the mind do that. And then see if you want to continue to build from there or shift or expand. So with that, I will see you next time on the Tuning In podcast. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Tuning In podcast. If you loved this episode, please rate and review it or share it with a friend. If you want to go deeper into the realm of emotions and learn the language of your body, check out my audio course, Emotions Decoded, at alignful.com/audio. As always, you can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans. See you next week.